The story that this reflection is based upon is the story of Jesus feeding 5,000 plus people with 5 small loaves and 2 fish. It's a well-known story, even outside of those who read the Bible. But these stories are there for a purpose. They have a meaning. They have something to tell us. In Matthew's Gospel, he tells us that just prior to this, King Herod had held a lavish birthday party for himself, and he invited anyone who was anyone. And his stepdaughter danced for them. And to show her off and sort of see how proud he was of her, he said in front of all the guests that he would give her whatever she asked for, even half of his kingdom. And so she went running into her mother and said, well, what do I ask for? And the mother said, well, you ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. The reason being she hated John the Baptist because John the Baptist had been saying that she was wrong to have left her husband and married Herod. So she wanted her revenge. She asked for this in front of all the guests, and Herod had to say yes because he did not want to lose face, because he'd already promised her whatever she'd asked for. Now this story today follows that. Jesus was told of Herod's death. Of John's death. Now John was the one who'd come to prepare the way for Jesus, but he was also a relative. And so when Jesus heard about this, he was sad and he wanted some time alone. So he took his disciples and they got in the boat and they went across the lake to a place which was deserted. Unfortunately, people saw them going and they headed off around the lake. And when Jesus arrived on the other side, instead of finding a nice, quiet, deserted place where they could be alone, he found a crowd of people clamouring for his attention. Now, if it had been me, I think I would have been thoroughly annoyed. But Jesus, when he saw this, it says he had compassion on them and he began healing the sick. He put the needs of ordinary people above his own needs. Now, we don't know what time of day this was, but it obviously went on for a while, because it said as evening began to approach, the disciples said to Jesus, look, it's getting late. Better send these people away so that they can go to the surrounding villages and get something to eat. And Jesus' reply, I think, would have stunned them. He said, no, you give them something. And you can almost hear the perhaps scorn in their reply. What? All we've got is 5 little loaves and 2 fish. Jesus' response was, okay, well, give them to me. So he took them, he blessed them, and then he gave them back to the disciples and said, now hand it out. And the outcome was that all 5,000 people had plenty to eat, and there were 12 basketfuls left over. Now there's a lot to get out of this story. Firstly, the contrast between Herod, the ruling king, and Jesus, the true king. Herod was arrogant, wasteful, boastful, concerned about how he looked in the eyes of others. Contrast this with Jesus, the true king, willing to put aside his own needs for the sake of just ordinary people. The next point to ponder is the disciples. When it began to get late, they wanted Jesus to send the people away, let them look after their own needs. And he said, no, you feed them. They must have thought he was joking, or that he didn't realise that they really weren't prepared for this. But they did what they were told. They gave him this tiny little amount of food. And surely at that point Jesus would realise how ridiculous this was. But instead he blessed it, gave it to them and said, now hand it around. Now I don't believe that the minute Jesus blessed that bread, suddenly there was just basketfuls of it in front of him. I believe that he blessed it and he handed to the disciples 5 little loaves and 2 dried fish. But as they began to hand it out, it multiplied slowly, so that by the end everyone was fed and there was food left over. One small act can have an enormous outcome. It's a lesson for us that even though we are totally inadequate for most of the tasks we're given, but if we're obedient and hand it to God, then he will do more than we can possibly imagine. The most simple task done in obedience to God can have the most amazing outcomes. Back in the 1940s in rural America, a Christian man by the name of Albert heard that there was going to be a visiting evangelist in a nearby town. And so he asked a group of young men would they come with him. One of them said no, he didn't want to. Now, Albert knew that this young man had just got his licence, and so he said to him, well, look, if I let you drive the truck, would you come? And he said, oh, yes. So he came and he drove them over. And when he got there, he thought, well, I'm here, I might as well go in. He went in, and that night he gave his life to Jesus. And the name of that young man was Billy Graham. He must have brought hundreds of thousands of people to believe in Jesus. One tiny act with an enormous outcome. Jesus is the true King. Instead of self-importance, he puts our needs ahead of his out of compassion for us. But he calls us to work. He calls us to work with him, reaching out to others. Our resources, our abilities really don't matter. What does matter is our obedience and our trust.